Good evening. Welcome to the Big Bad Broadcast. That kid went on to become Evil Knievel.
Yeah, a little less evil. Evil Light Knievel.
That's a hell of an Uber
My favorite
driver.
part of that video is when he goes, extra protection.
That's what I was gonna say. It's like, what was he doing? Extra protection,
And I see that on the
maximum effort.
I see that on the 405 every day. Come on.
And mothers wonder why little boys have broken bones.
Tell me about it.
Man.
Anyway, welcome to the Big Bad Broadcast, and you can catch us weekly on the BBBRadio.com, Strong Island TV on Roku, on YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Facebook, and anywhere. You probably find us, and you probably know where we are more than we are.
No,
But we're
you know where you
everywhere.
are.
And we have a great show for you today. But first, let me introduce you to the regulars on the show. We got Mike Foghorn Grief.
I say, boy, fortunately, I keep my feathers numbered for such an emergency.
Oh, my God. And we have the man around town, the tech guru, the guy who runs the show, and see how smooth it got off to a start. We have great Yoda Mitchell.
Oh, certainly. Oh, it's nice to see you.
And we got a great guest for you today, and Craig is going to introduce him and
Very,
tell us a little
very
bit
funny.
about him.
We have a very, very funny comedian. He does a voice actor, just really hysterical. I mean, I worked with this guy. I had to be 1990 back at the Comedy Works in Albany, and he'll probably remember this bit when he comes on. But he was playing, I think, Dr. Ruth talking to munchkins behind a tree. I'm not kidding. And all I remember is the place was melting down with laughter. I still remember how loud the laughter was. He's a very funny man, and we have a clip of his stand-up, and we're going to show it right now.
I don't hurt anybody physically with my practical jokes. I just like mess with your heads, and I force you to make the mistakes, and then I sit back and laugh. I'll go into a really nice restaurant. I'll go into the podium. Hi, called earlier. Reservations for 2 under Shafeed. Should be down there. Shithead. Shafeed. 5 minutes goes by. New kid comes up. Party 2 for shithead. Shithead. Huh? I just punched on. It says shithead. I don't know. Shithead party? Party of shitheads? Come on, seriously? Are the shitheads here? Come on. Hey, shithead, your table's ready. Come on. And I go up to the podium in tears. It's Shafiq! You do this to me every time! I don't dare bring my friend Mr. Blowjob.
All right, let's hear it for John DiCrosta, everybody.
Great video.
That's hilarious.
How are
Video.
I thought it froze up.
It froze 4 times, yeah. How you doing, John?
How are you guys? Nice to be here.
We are okay. Where are you from? Where are you right now? I mean, where are you broadcasting from?
I live in the West Valley, San Fernando Valley in Los Angeles.
Oh, okay.
Originally
Yeah,
from
I live in-
upstate New York.
There we go.
Upstate, from upstate New York.
Yeah,
Love the
I have a-
mustache, man.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
We're
I
dealing
grew
with
it actually. Well, during COVID, everybody kind of stopped bathing and shaving, so I stopped shaving it. And then one night, I had some CBD gummies to help me sleep, and I chopped a notch in this little goatee half like you guys got there, And I'm like, shit, now I got to even this shit up. So I had evened it up. Then it started growing longer. Then I started chewing on it. Then the world opened back up, and I got a casting notice for a Western where they needed a comic to play, to deliver a couple of comic lines in a independent film. And I play the owner of a brothel. And they said, I said, I can shave this off. And they said, no, we're going to put your scene off for about 3 to 4 weeks. And we're going to let it grow so you can really get a twist on it. So I let it grow for another 3 or 4 weeks. And then I couldn't shave it for 5 to 6 months. And in case they needed me to shoot that scene again. And then the world went back open and everybody went back to work. So because I couldn't shave it off, I had to address it in my act, for God's sakes. You don't see a guy that looks like this every day. And now I just kept it. And I've been cleared for about 6 months. Now I just kept it. And I'm winning all kinds of freaking mustache contests. Who knew that was even a
There you
thing?
go.
Crazy.
Yeah.
You were competing against Hercule Poirot.
Yeah. I still say that the guy that looks like the winner, Robert Baker, it looks like he's surprised that somebody took his picture. He looks very shocked. Like, what? Snap. There you go. Well, how long ago was it? That was recent, right, John?
That contest?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was like 2 days ago, 3 days ago.
I feel like John's in
And then
an
I
airplane.
won,
There's like a delay.
Yeah.
I took first place about a month ago. Actually, about 2 weeks ago in a much larger contest. I took first place, and it's just an online Instagram thing where guys enter themselves. They do have yearly tournaments globally, internationally, and nationally. But maybe next year, if this is still on my face.
That's
So
very
it all
cool.
started as a thing when I like we said where during the pandemic people stopped bathing and shaving. I just want to let people. I bathe once a month regardless if I need it or not. I never stopped.
Yeah, and I try to enter myself at least once a month too. So
You try to what?
enter myself.
Enter mice. Okay.
He said he entered. He entered him. Never mind.
I have no idea what just happened.
Greg's entering himself.
I know. It's
John.
I think he's got that magic seat that you always use in your act, John. Except
I
that
Our guest just said he enters himself in contests. So I said I've been trying to enter myself.
I know.
Maybe I should just go home.
It's just a creepy thought.
Anyway,
Well, anyway, but it's so you just started growing that during this. So this is a new thing. It's not something that you've had for years and years.
No. A year and a half. It was like June of 21. I did the movie, and then I couldn't shave it until like Christmas of that year, and then I just kept it since the beginning of 22. So it's about a year and a half old tops.
what kind of reaction do you get from audiences?
Oh,
That's the
and there you go. That's the reaction that he gets from the audience.
He said not to ask personal questions. Damn it!
There you go, man. He was offended by you entering yourself. But anyway.
No, I think, well, it's obvious from the delay that we had some issues with the connection. We're going to try to get him back. If not, we're going to have to talk about Foghorn Leghorn for the next.
But I say in the meantime, boy.
Yeah.
Well, let's see what. Well, I mean, we'll get him when he comes back. We'll get him. But what are your car? The reason why we're doing this, if people don't know, is because John does a lot of cartoon voices. He's done the voices of the Transformer movies, as Craig has informed us. Not you, John. The other John. Here he comes now.
Our guest is returning.
He is returning. I believe he's returning.
He's up. Look at that.
He's back.
Of all rules, regulations, and articles.
What was
Rules,
that?
regulations.
I was going to standby mode too for in case we didn't get a guest back.
John's watching Netflix.
No, I wasn't. I was trying to get to something to talk about. I was keeping the show rolling.
Are you back with us, John?
I am back. Sorry,
okay,
I don't know what just happened. It just stopped.
We asked you a personal question. We thought we offended you. We're sorry. We apologize profusely for that.
Last thing I heard was, what do audiences think of that? Was there something more personal after that question?
Yes.
No.
Well, let's not go there. Let's just see how the audience is. What is the reaction from audiences?
I would say 95% love it.
Really?
Oh yeah, and I've gotten tons of material from them with
Why do you
comments
seem
they've
so
made.
shocked about that, Craig?
No, because it's 95. I mean, why wouldn't I? I mean, what are the other 5 like? I don't like mustaches. I'm leaving. Goodbye. I don't get the other 5 at all.
They're old
Let me-
cruise ship people that go, "You're so handsome. You don't need that thing on your face."
What is that? Is that a tribble? Is that a tribble on his face? What's going on? The trouble with tribble.
But this takes time and effort. I mean, he's on John. You're on Facebook. I see you're showing the wax that you actually use for it.
Yeah.
Which is-
Yeah. I mean, the reason I say 5% is for a while I was, not every show, but on occasion I would say, hey, after the film is done, do you think I should keep it? I would say every time I asked that question, everybody in the crowd would say yay, and there would always be one douchebag that went, no, shave it.
I have the same.
So
I grew the
stopped
same
asking.
kind of a mustache during the pandemic, but it's on my back.
Yeah, too bad we don't have a picture of that. That'd be cool to see.
There you go. Well, it's better than doing it in your pubes, And
Well, you know what? That's my choice. Sorry, it's I don't have a hardwood floor. I have a billboard. Okay, there you go. So
I think we're experiencing some delay here again.
Are we? Yeah,
he's freezing up.
His connection's a little delayed. Can you hear us, John?
Yeah, I can hear you.
This is the world's largest mustache. Look.
Oh yeah.
Oh, come.
It went out, John.
You showed us porn, John. That was not good.
Oh, I've seen a lot.
That wasn't a large mustache. That was a lot. No, it's gone
Forget
again.
it.
This show is a technical marvel so far.
Ding,
Awesome.
ding.
Yeah. But so we were when you disappeared, we were talking about voices. You're an accomplished voice actor. You've been in some gigantic franchises and movies and TV. What can you tell us about how that started, and what just tell us how it started with that?
Well, it started in upstate New York. Somebody saw me at the Comedy Works in Albany and asked me if I could do a voice of a teddy bear for a Christmas commercial she was making for a furniture store.
Wow.
And I'm like, of course, because as you mentioned, I used to do a whole thing on The Wizard of Oz. And
I thought that was hilarious.
I mean, and more than half of my act was voices and ventriloquism back in the 80s and 90s. And so I did that commercial, and I ended up doing like 100 commercials for this woman in upstate New York. And I compiled a nice little demo reel, and I came out to LA probably about 8 or 9 times in '99 to pursue a career in animation voiceover. And I visited probably about 10 to 15 agencies and casting directors, and they all said, "What are you waiting for?" So I moved out the summer of 2000.
Wow.
Yes.
Did you have a reel of all your voices, and then you go and shop? I mean,
he does.
I think most people don't understand how the voiceover.
Yeah. I had a
business
cassette. It was so long ago. It was a cassette.
Wow.
And you can hear
a
sampling of his voices on your reel that's going to appear on your website, which I have now in the room. You can go to John's
my newest
website.
reel is on that site. The first link that you can click on is my latest animation voiceover demo that I did. Probably it was mid-pandemic because I figured, what the hell, I'm not going anywhere. Might as well work on something new, something a little more updated. Because prior to that, I had the reel that I came out here with in '99.
Right. But here's the question now. So was your reel, was it voices of imitation of voices that already exist, or were they brand new creations of characters that you were, you know.
That particular reel that I came to LA was a 2-minute compilation of all the commercials that I had done for that female that owned that advertising agency. It was a 2-minute, sizzle reel of all the different characters I had done for her over the years.
Right.
You know,
So it doesn't necessarily have to be. I was going to say, it doesn't necessarily have to be recognized voices. It can be original voices. You can make a reel out of original voices. And
no, not at all. In fact, when you're putting a demo together for voiceover anyway, you want it as most original as you possibly can. In fact, on my original reel, I actually had a couple of things from my act. I had Dr. Ruth in there, and I think I had Homer Simpson on there. And then when I got here to LA, I learned that was kind of a big no-no because that was somebody else's character.
Right.
So I had to quit, cut something else. I had to quit, put one of my creations in there. But as far as the latest demo, from beginning to end, I do every single voice: female, children, adult males, grandpas, animals. Everything on that reel is me, and it's original creation. So,
And
yeah. But when I got here, it was stuff from my stand-up act, and it was commercials I had done.
Right.
I mean, and of course, the biggest thing I remember that you did, of course, is you voiced two of the Transformers in the Transformer movies, in Revenge of the Fallen. Can you tell us about that?
In the
You got it.
second film, my main character in Transformers: Revenge of the Fallen is the Doctor. I resurrect Megatron is left at the bottom of the ocean at the end of the first film to be, for dead. And I resurrect him in the beginning of the second film. And I also jump on Shia LaBeouf's chest and try to cut his brain open, try to get some important information out of his head.
Not much important
which is an impossibility.
Actually, he's a wonderful actor, man. I love Shia LaBeouf.
There's a scene in the kitchen where all the appliances, the clock, the microwave, the vacuum cleaner, the blender, the juicer, they all transform into Transformers, and all those voices are me as well. So that's probably about 8 or 9 guys in that scene. Yeah.
I'll have to check it out. I don't think I've seen any of the Transformer movies, so I'll have to check them out now.
And because of copyright, we can't show the scene here. I wish we could have. But let me ask you: how did you go about getting that? I mean, did they know of you? Did you submit an independent audition? How did that happen? Because voice acting, as far as you, is similar to acting with yourself, except the whole submission process seems to be a little bit different.
Yeah, well, it was one of those Hollywood, the stars align kind of thing. I was working at the Riviera in Las Vegas, and my agent called and said, "Are you going to be in town next week?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "I'm trying to set up a meeting with you and Michael Bay." And I said, "You mean Pearl Harbor, Armageddon, Transformers, Michael Bay?" And he said, "Yeah." And I said, "Yeah, sure. Have him meet me at the Denny's in my neighborhood on Thursday. I'm good between 12 and 1. And there was dead silence. And I said, "Are you serious?" And he said, "Yeah, absolutely." I said, "How the hell does he know who I am?" And my agent actually said, "I have no idea. He might be familiar with your work on Nickelodeon. But they called here and they want you to be in the next Transformers movie." So I said, "Yeah, set that shit up." So the following week, I went to his compound, and it was just me, Michael, and a sound guy. To that instant, I had no idea why and how I got there.
And that statement usually doesn't end well. I went to his compound. I have no idea how I got there.
It's true.
Bill Cosby drove me over to the compound,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden, I open my eyes and I'm in front of this, little mini studio in his office, and the sound guy and me and Michael, and he said, I want a voice for this guy. And I started working on it in front of him for about 30 minutes. Finally, I just asked him, I said, how did I get here? How am I here?
We're having connection problems, guys.
How do you know who I am? And he pressed the button and he said, this is your audition, right? And sure enough, that was my audition. It must have been about 1.5 years or 2 years prior. And we just tweaked the voice, and then he said, okay, let's go do this. And we drove over to the studios and we laid it down that day.
Cool.
That's
Let's
awesome.
hear the voice.
We did like 8 of them. Which one do you want to hear?
Well,
for the doctor, for the doctor, my main line when I jump on top of Shia LaBeouf, he's got this shard. The information has been transported into his brain, and I jump on Shia's chest and I say, "We must have the brain on the table."
We must have the brain. See, I can hear something and imitate it.
Yeah, you can. You're pretty.
We must have the brain on the table. That's my John DiCrosta.
Do it for 3 hours.
As long as I got some lozenges, I'll be all right.
And then all the kitchen guys, I went back about 4 or 5 minutes later to clean up my initial session. And about 45 minutes in, Michael Bay said, well, we're done. And the sound guy goes, Stephen wanted me to, he hands Michael Bay a Post-it note, and he looked at me and he said, you want to do some more robots? And I'm like, yeah. So he showed me the kitchen scene of all the appliances chasing him through the house and shooting at his ankles and trying to kill him. And he goes, I need voices for him, and him. And we went to work for the next 2 hours. And I got, that was a bonus. That was a last minute thought.
That's awesome.
Do you get paid individually for each character? Do you get a check for each character, or they just paid you one time for everything?
It was for the session. It was for the 3-hour session. Yeah.
And then you should have told them, no, I have to come back for,
Really? God.
When Gary Proper managed the Ninja Turtles, he had each one as individual. So each one was a separate entity. And this way, the theaters could not introduce a new character. It's pretty wild.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, that makes total sense, actually.
This way he had total control of it. Each one was like a separate star. It's pretty wild. You know what I mean? It's just like things you would never think of,
Didn't Gallagher own them for a while?
No.
That's what I thought.
No, he managed Gallagher. And when he got this, he had this, I knew Gary pretty well. He had this like stoned out guy. Gary was like Spicoli in real life at 70. And he was the first East Coast surfer to ever win the World Surfing Championship. And he beat Dewey Weber in California. I was at the contest. He's the
like Dewey Weber.
Yeah, but anyway, long story short, he had a friend of his that came over the house one day and goes, "Hey Gary, I just came up with these like guys that they talk like us and like they're turtles and they live in a sewer and they eat pizza, but I don't have any names." And he was a big art collector, so he just gave them all names like Michelangelo.
Come on, if somebody came to you that with that idea, I'd fucking probably.
Right. Well, yeah, but
it sounds like it would never do anything.
Right.
So anyway,
turtles who know.
He sold the idea, and then Gallagher came back and said, "Well, I want 20% because if I got something, you would get 20%." And he was like, "You're out of your mind," and that's how it ended with Gallagher, and that's when he started managing Carrot Top.
Is that true? Really?
Yeah. And he managed Carrot Top because Carrot Top Scott used to cut his lawn, and in Gary's exact words, he had a very hot mother that I really liked that was divorced, and I really wanted to meet her. So I figured if I hired Scott, I would actually get to meet his mom.
That's a heartwarming story, really. You should have told Scott that story when he had him on the show. I mean, that just hits you right here, you know. That kind of.
Scott and I have talked about it. I asked Scott once, and he goes, "Yeah, it's true."
I got a career because some guy wanted to bang my mom.
It's true.
He didn't say he wanted to bang her; he wanted to meet her.
Yeah. What does that mean?
Well,
That means I want to
come
meet her.
on. If you're a man, one leads to the other, right? Right?
I want to meet a divorced single,
Usually.
a single divorced mom and whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, I want
just
to meet
wanna
Sam
meet her.
Elliott.
You
Not
know,
gonna
Gary
happen.
used to, I don't know where around Gary Piper, but he used to talk like a Ninja Turtle, right? Just like a 76-year-old man. He goes, calls me up one day. I told you this story. He calls me up one day. He goes, dude, he goes, you like new surfboards? And I go, yeah. He goes, everyone loves new surfboards. Come on, meet me at the surf shop. I'll buy you and your son new boards. And I was like, Gary, I'm on the way to the airport. He goes, sorry, dude. He goes, I was in the mood to buy new boards, even though I never ride it. Dude, I just would like to look at one. It's crazy.
And
man.
then he went off and he fought Shredder, right?
No, and then he had a big art show that I went to where he had cereal boxes that he painted on like a little kid. And like, I couldn't even get it. And they were going for $450. And people were buying them.
He painted cereal boxes on a little kid?
Because he was
No, he
famous.
painted like he
paint
doodled
anything.
with
Okay,
acrylic paint on a cereal. Yeah, he doodled with a little kid.
Kid, hold
He
still. Hold
did
still.
the
I'm trying to
kid
do
in
this.
his hair. Yeah,
Hold
no,
on,
he would
guys.
just like
Hold on, I'm
draw
going to
these-
choke my chicken. You guys don't
he
mind
would
if I
just
choke
draw
my-
these insane little drawings on cereal boxes in acrylic paint. And he'd sign them and people would buy them. I was like, I go,
They
Gary,
are
this is the
turtles?
biggest scam in the world. He did do one thing that was very cool, was he took all the animation cells and didn't want them to go for big money because he wanted kids to have them.
Yeah.
And sold all the animation cells to Toys R Us. And you could buy
I
an
have
animation.
it somewhere. I have bought it for my son 1,000
Yeah,
years
you
ago.
could buy an animation cell for like $2.
But I have a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle animation cell.
Yeah.
I don't know if I have it or my son has it, but I had bought one for him many years ago because it was, and it's a real animation cell. Which
Yeah.
is pretty cool.
Yeah, he insisted that. Okay, well, Gary's not our guest, and unfortunately, he's passed away. So
But
Yeah,
I'm
I
saying-
don't know where I
I just
heard
thought it was
that.
interesting. I just thought it was interesting when you said you did all the characters in this kitchen,
No,
and
it's,
there was all separate characters. I thought that was really cool, and that just made me think of like the time when Gary was saying how he handled all the turtles as separate entities. That's all.
Yeah, I just when you started telling that story, it just brought up memories just in our stand-up circles. I had heard years ago that Gallagher owned a piece of the Ninja Turtles, but
Yeah,
now
me
I'm
too.
happy to find out how that all came.
No,
came
he
to be.
was trying to get Gary to give him 20%.
And it's good that
Gary
he
is
didn't
like-
get a piece of them
Gary's
because
like-
he probably would have had him smashing watermelons. And God
Instead of
rest his
pieces.
soul. We love Gallagher, but
yeah. No, it's
So that goes. Does that go for Gallagher too as well?
oh my
He owns
God,
nothing?
Gallagher too.
No, he doesn't own anything.
That was the most bizarre thing. I remember I heard that Gallagher retired, and then at Eastside Comedy Club they had the big banner coming soon, Gallagher 2. I'm like,
Gallagher
what?
too.
What the hell was this?
Just like Gallagher 1 with half the talent.
I
And he
mean, the
looks
end of that story
Oh,
was
you know-
Scott walked into Gary's backyard with a suitcase one day and said, "Sit down. I'm going to show you that I'm funnier than Gallagher."
Yeah.
That's a true story.
Gallagher was huge at one time, though. I mean, he
Yeah.
would fill theaters and stay, whatever. Just like he was a big,
Huge. I don't know if he those weren't really necessarily days of stadiums, but he was filling theaters lower
Yeah.
and upper
Theaters,
decks,
yeah.
that's for damn sure.
I think between 1983 and 1995, he did 8 Showtime and HBO specials, that's a ton.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I remember him vividly. I probably have him on VHS somewhere. Yeah, I was a big fan, and they were always fun and thought-provoking. The thing about Gallagher, I met him at Fry's here by my house when I was doing an audience warm-up for Politically Incorrect with Bill Maher. I said, hey, I'm a big fan. I approached him, and then he goes, what brought you to LA? I said, well, animation voiceover, but I'm paying the bills with audience warm up. And he said, what show are you working on? And I said, Politically Incorrect with Bill Maher. Then he started chewing my ear off on how he's been trying to get on Politically Incorrect with Bill Maher. He was chasing me all over the store, trying to get me to get him on the show. I'm like, I'm a warm-up guy. I got zero clout, for God's sakes. I throw out candy.
Yeah, he was an interesting guy. I used to see him all the time at the when I was a regular at the Comedy Store, and he would hang out there and just, you know, he was this was a long time ago, but always just a nice guy. Strange, but nice.
What other shows have you warmed up for? You mentioned Politically Incorrect, and you said there was others.
I started with Politically Incorrect. Then I went to The Late Late Show with Craig Kilborn, American Idol, Dancing with the Stars, America's Got Talent, America's Funniest Home Videos, tons and tons of pilots.
That's awesome.
A lot of shows you probably never even heard of that were on MTV, History Channel. Yeah, I've done a ton of stuff. I never got in, which is the Golden Chalice, the sitcom world, but I did a shit ton of just regular broadcast TV.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know a number of comics do that, man. Like Joey Cola warms up for Rachel Ray and others. I don't know. Not only that, Quentin Heggs in New York used to warm up for Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. I remember that. And I thought they were choice gigs because those audiences are just, you know, I don't know. I mean, I guess there'd be different types of shows might have different. I mean, Bill Maher's audience must be a tough warm up. You probably had to work real hard or a specific way.
In the early days when we first moved from New York to LA, you know, the people that were sitting in the chairs weren't necessarily rabid fans of Bill.
No, it's mostly tourists.
Yes, exactly, and so that was a little harder. Real Time was a piece of cake because that room is always filled with people that love and follow Bill. But Politically Incorrect was a little different. You know, we had a couple of audience wranglers that would, you know, we had people that did it every week. That's what they did for a living. But then again, I mean, there were fans of the shows that showed up that were fun. But I would say most of the time it was a pretty easy gig. But some days it was tough. I remember Jay Moore was on our show one week. And it was right after 9/11, so we couldn't get tourists because nobody was flying or traveling anywhere. And I remember it was all hired audiences for like a week, and it was the same damn people. So, you know, they had heard me yesterday and the day before and the day before, and I remember Jay Moore was on the show, and I was kind of looking forward to performing in front of Jay. I was a fan of Jay's. I mean, I didn't, you know, bow before him, but he was a stand-up. He was on a kind of a little role. He had SNL. He did that movie with Jennifer Aniston, and
right.
We were regulars at the store together. I remember Jay well. Froze up again.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I did colleges with him years ago, and his mother used to manage him.
Jay Moore?
Yeah.
I remember I think he created or was the executive producer of Last Comic Standing. That's what I remember.
Yes.
Yeah, because I think his manager, Barry Katz, was the
Did you warm up for Last Comic? Did you work on Last Comic?
No, I never did that show. I did Jay's show on ESPN that Barry produced called More Sports.
I like that show.
Last Comic Standing. I wanted to just start killing the comics on there and call Last Comic Surviving. The fuck out of Last Comic.
The one thing about Last Comic Standing is that it was one of those things where people went, "You're funny. Why don't you go on Last Comic Standing?" I mean,
yeah,
you think you
because I have a little bit of dignity, not much, but a little. No.
Well, you know, plus most of the people were represented already. Like all I remember is Alonzo Bowden was being represented by Omnipop when he won. So I think you had to have some gas to get on the show.
Not only gas to get on, but it was all bullshit and setup. It's like, you know, they handpicked. They would have judges, right, and whatever, and they would hand. It was a whole thing, man. I went through this with Monty Hoffman and you know, they would have, you know, the audience, and then they'd have the celebrities pick if this is the same show, but they'd have the celebrities pick. And so it's like the audience was supposed to be voting, but then the celebrities would pick, and it was they I remember that they were pissed off because it's like you know, they were picking who they were managing. Let's put it that way. They were making sure their own people were getting on the show and things like that. And you know, there was a lot of bullshit going on. But that's show business. When isn't some kind of bullshit going on?
So John, I'm curious. When did you? Because when John and I have been friends, we've known each other for 30 some odd years. I actually have an old dark video of us working in Binghamton, like in 1988. But I follow you on Facebook all the time, and one of the things that's just cool is you're always posting pictures from all over the world because you work cruise ships. When did you start working for cruise ships, and tell us about that?
In 2010, I had hit a brick wall voiceover. I wasn't booking anything for a little bit, and I got burnt out on audience warm-up. The thing about audience warm-up is I learned the hard way. You can never be funnier than the talent. And if the crowd is absolutely fantastic, it's the writers and the production crew and the talent. If the crowd is horrible, it's the warm-up guy.
Yeah.
And I got tired of that.
It's the same thing in clubs, right? It's like if you pack out the room, the club owner is walking around patting himself about what a great job he did on promotion. If there's nobody in the room, they blame you.
Yes. Yeah. Very, very similar. So I got a little, I was ready for a change. So I had, sent an email to my agent. Hey, let's do a couple of maybe ships each month. And he sent me back a message saying, they were starting a new thing called the Punchliner Comedy Club, which they're turning their smaller lounges into a comedy club. You're coming on, you're doing 2 PG shows and 3 rated R shows for each cruise. And it's this much money. And I'm like, all right, I'll give it a shot. And that was 12 years ago, 551 cruises ago.
Holy shit.
I've done since October 2010, 551 cruises in 12 years. And I'm telling you, I've seen the world for free and getting paid to do what I love to do. I'm still pursuing my dream and my, career in animation voiceover. But for now, it pays the bills and I'm happy. It's better than going to the mall and selling tires. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
No offense to the guys that sell tires.
I mean, I did it from 1982 till COVID, and I don't even know how many cruises I did. I couldn't even start to count. And I worked for Royal Caribbean, Disney, Norwegian, Celebrity, Holland America, and Oceania. But I did work exclusively for NCL for 17 years.
But here's the question: how are you guys going to do cruises? It's so different than a club because it's just you, right? There's no MC, middle, and whatever. It's just, they just bring you out. And
you have a beautiful theater. You have a great sound crew. You have the most perfect situation in the world to perform
it. It really is.
It's just really you, right?
It's just you, yeah. I mean, like, I don't know. I mean, now they do have comedy clubs. I've never worked at comedy clubs. I've always worked, the main room, because when I started, they didn't have comedy clubs on cruise ships. So then, everything is slotted, you know what I mean? So the cruise directors, like some of the DJs are now cruise directors, but they remember coming to your show.
What line do you work for, John? Which line,
Carnival,
both of you guys. Carnival, and which one did you work for, John?
Carnival exclusive.
Nice.
I worked for every cruise line there is except for Carnival.
Yeah.
So we have everything covered then.
Yeah, I did. I mean, I told
actually,
you.
Though.
I worked for every cruise line but Carnival.
Yeah.
The best cruise line I worked for monetarily was Disney. because I didn't want to work for them, and I kept telling them I don't want to work for you. And they had a new ship coming out called The Magic, and they wanted me on that because at the time I was doing some TV, and they wanted me on it, and I got paid like an embarrassing amount of money.
I was only asking because my wife is starting to talk about wanting to maybe check out a cruise, and who would know better which line than you guys basically live on these ships. So I was just wondering which line. I mean, what would be a really good line to look at?
I personally would think, judging of the way you look, you would have to go to a ship with.
Judging by the way I look,
you would have to go to a comedy club. You would have to go to a comedy club ship.
No, I'm not talking about working. I'm not talking about working. I'm talking about as a customer.
You could work on a cruise ship.
I suppose I could,
funny.
but you just said John just said they do clean shows. Now it's not that my shows are dirty, but everyone looks at me and they think that I'm not a clean comic.
Does Harley Davidson have a cruise ship? Because that'd be perfect for him.
There you go.
All right, welcome.
Trust me, no, but there is a cruise. John might know this. John DiCrosta. There's a cruise full of bikers that I saw an ad for it on Facebook where it's a cruise filled with the customers are all.
There's a cruise for everything.
They might have it. I know they have charter cruises. I mean, I know we've done nude cruises.
Yeah, they have nude cruises,
swinger cruises.
Yeah.
Wow. And the number for that swinger cruise?
They have gay cruises, nude cruises, swinger cruises, and I had to do the volleyball cruises.
Oh, the nude volleyball cruises?
I did a gay cruise, but that was all through Greenwich Village one side of the night. Still,
yeah, that was just you in your car going, "Hey, sailor."
Yeah, sailor.
You sailor.
Wow.
You sailor. Want a bag of candy?
Well, it's a bag, but it doesn't have candy in it.
Hey, John, do you ever work out of Port Canaveral?
Yeah, I was just there on our newest ship, actually.
Well, you should take that. We'll text you my number. I live like 6 minutes from the port.
I would love that because that is one of the ports that I love because it's clean and safe, but there's shit to do there.
Right. So, I mean, basically,
I would love to get together.
I love it. He said it's because it's clean and safe. Where do you go? I mean, and this is now I'm curious. Where do you go where it's not clean and safe?
Well, I'm not going to mention any towns, but there are definitely towns where when you get off the port, you don't want to stray too far from the downtown area because it gets a little gnarly. John can tell you that. But Port Canaveral, you can't leave. You can't leave the ship in Port Canaveral and walk to a mall. There's nothing there. You have to take an Uber or a taxi or a bus somewhere. So I would love to have something to do in Port Canaveral because I never get off the ship there.
It's so funny because I spend about 8 or 9 days a month picking up my friends off of cruise ships. I'm like the cruise ship Uber now.
Yeah, I kind of do that here in Long Beach when I'm home.
Right.
And then I know guys are here.
Kruber. Cruise ship Uber. Kruber. I'm starting my own bit. Kruber. I pick people up off the cruises.
That's my next survival job. Kruber.
They used to have a crew bus that left and would go to the mall.
They have it.
Walmart.
They have it, but yeah, I can't. I don't do well with confining spaces with people that smell like fish head soup.
So, John, let me ask you, because John Ferrantino's told us before, but do you have any crazy or wild stories that happened to you while you're on a cruise that you can share?
No, and the reason I don't is well, that's as far as
statutes of limitations. That's why he doesn't.
Yeah, you want to keep working. I understand.
I don't know what you're fishing for, but if
just something wacky that happened with a wacky customer interaction or something.
Yeah, I had maybe one incident out of 540 cruises. I did one joke on how it took us 11 years to find Osama bin Laden, which I could not figure out considering he was wearing green camouflage in the desert. In other words, he was dressed like a tree in the sand.
Yeah.
And a guy came up to me. He rushed me on the stage. And the little girl that was a host, she was like 3 foot nothing, 50 pounds wet. She ran up to the stage, grabbed the stool that we all use when we walk on our stage, the four-footed stool, and she held it between him and I like she was a lion tamer and stopped the guy from attacking me. That was the only incident I've ever had. But
so the guy was a big fan of Osama bin Laden's, huh?
Or trees.
Apparently he had lost some friends in that whole era in the desert, and he took it personally, like, hey, we're doing the best we can kind of thing. And I'm like, dude, I get that.
You're doing the best you can. Give me a break. If Osama bin Laden would have owed me $20, I would have found him in like 10 minutes.
My favorite cruise ship story is a guy fell overboard, right? And we got him.
I love that stuff. That's his favorite story.
This is really funny. We got the guy. He was safe. They brought him in, and it was the farewell show. And Fred Klett, who we've had on the show, who's really funny, was on there. And the cruise director said at the farewell show, I need you not. Oh, when we got to the private island, there were 2 12-foot sharks circling the tender all day long. So the cruise director said, whatever you do, I don't want anyone to mention the sharks or the guy that fell overboard. And Fred Klett walked out on stage, walked right out on stage, right at the microphone, and goes, anybody see those 2 sharks circling the tender today? And they all went, yeah. He goes, yeah, I heard one say to the other one, you think that asshole's going to fall overboard again? Wow. And the place just erupts with laughter. And the cruise director, I'll never forget this, looks at me and goes, if he wasn't so freaking funny, I'd be pissed.
That's hilarious.
Are we going to do some voices?
Sure. Well, yeah. Well, John does.
I got you mixed up, huh?
I'm stuttering. Well, John does voices. I've heard him do like Dr. Ruth and stuff like that, but he's not mainly an impressionist. But
no, I think not at all.
Dr. Ruth was hilarious. I remember that.
In my early days, I started as a ventriloquist. In fact, that's how I primarily, from when I was like 12 to when I was about 19, that was the only part of my act is ventriloquism. And then when I was 19, 20 in the early 80s, when the comedy explosion happened, that's when I started putting stand-up into the act. And then most of my act was all props and voices and characters, but it was impressions kind of like in the vein of those 1970s and 80s impressionists. Yeah, well, no, impressionists. You know how they would turn their back and what if John Wayne was working at, Baskin and Robbins? I think it would go something.
Well, what
it's a little something that sounds like.
Well, you know what, Mike and I wanted to.
You want a sugar cone or a cup, Pilgrim?
Mike and I wanted to have. You would probably be able to help. Mike and I have a competing impression called Peter. Do you remember Peter Potamus?
The cartoon Peter Potamus.
Sure, I auditioned for Peter Potamus.
So what we since you're the expert on voices, Mike and I are going to do our impression, and you can just give us a quick thumbnail on what we're doing right, what we're doing wrong. Is that cool?
Sure.
All right, Mike, do you want to go first? You want me to go first?
All right, go first.
You go first. Chris.
All right, here's Peter Potamus.
Since you brought this obscene topic up,
trust me, the people.
You want to hear insane out of the gate. I think Mike delivered a line as Foghorn Leghorn, which was actually not his line; it was Daffy Duck's line.
Oh, there you go.
Which line was that?
Something about the feathers.
Fortunately, I keep my feathers numbered for just such.
No, I would swear that was Foghorn Leghorn. Wasn't it? We get
they might have both done it.
They might have both said it because the success of the line, but that's Daffy's line. Foghorn's a hack.
Right. Here we go.
Go ahead. Let's hear Peter.
Peter. There's impressions that I have no idea what
here's Peter Potamus. You ready? Here we go. Okay, Sozo, it's time for my hippo hurricane holler.
I am now deeply disturbed.
Yeah, really. Okay, Down here.
I'll do it here. All right, go
Hey,
ahead, Mike.
spin the time dial. All right, no wait. Yeah, time for my hippo. Hurricane. That's
We both are mentally unstable.
If I were to hire somebody based on these two auditions, I would have to hire Craig.
Oh man!
But get rid of him.
But take another look at Mike. Take another look at Mike.
But
you may want to hire Mike or you'll be dead.
Mike, don't touch the
line. You ever heard the line, let the Wookiee win?
You got to hire Mike or you end up dead.
The thing is, I think Mike sounds like Burt Lahr from the Wizard of Oz. I think he sounds a lot like him.
I'm not scared. Put him up. I'll fight you with one hand behind my back.
Love. Yeah. So thank you for judging that.
And
you do a better Tommy Chong than Tommy Chong. We have on the show.
Do you Tommy Chong?
Well, let me see. Hold on. Let's. Man, every time I do coke, man, you like, every time I do coke trip, man. Or I could do them with Cheech,
Yeah.
Hey, man, you gave all our money to the hamburger dude. Oh, man. Tommy was cracking up when I did him on the show.
Oh man, that's an incredible. And your John Wayne is great too. So,
I used to do them years ago just for fun, and I haven't done them, so it's like I'm really rusty. Well, I used to love Underdog. I don't know if now see if there's a
okay.
When Holly's in trouble, I am not slow. It's hip, 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 and away I go.
Holy shit!
I don't think I nailed that. I used to do that.
That's Wally Cox, man. That's good.
That's a close Wally Cox.
The secret compartment of my ring I fill with an Underdog super
That's
energy.
actually more Wally Cox than Underdog.
Yeah.
That's the creepiest
I
part.
can do Simon Bar Sinister. It's Simon Bar Sinister. I will get you, Underdog. I can do him. Wow.
So
John's laughing.
I don't do any impressions.
I
do Ray Romano.
Stage. Oh, Deborah, I told you got to get in the car.
John DiCrosta, you're here. I don't know why. I don't know why you're here. What is going on this show? I should have stayed in school.
I was doing the comedy corner in West Palm Beach back in the 90s or probably late 90s, and Raymond was on the air maybe 2 years, and so CBS sent him on some tour to kind of like boost his visibility across the country, and he came in, and I got a call from John at the time. He said, "Hey, we got an opportunity to have Ray come in and do 2 shows." And I said, okay. I said, "Can I come in middle?" He goes, "He's got somebody." And then I said, "Well, can I come and watch the show? I'm old friends with Ray. I used to work with him in upstate New York all the time." He said, "Sure." So he goes, "You just take the night off with pay. We'll pay it." And I'm like, "Fine." So when I walked in, I didn't know if Ray would remember me because it had been, I don't know, 12, 15 years since I worked with him last. And as soon as I walked in the green room, he goes, "Albany chicken wings." And I was like, that was the last time I saw Ray. I brought him and Fred Stoller out for chicken wings.
Nice.
That happened to me when I hadn't seen Ray. This was 1998. I hadn't worked with him since 1990 at a club in Brooklyn, and I went backstage because he was with Kevin James at Governors. I went backstage, and somebody introduced me to Ray, and Ray goes, "Oh yeah, Toppers, how you doing?" Like that. I'm like, "Holy, how do you remember that?"
Everybody does a Ray but me. I don't think I do a Ray. Hey, Ray Romano. No, I can't do it.
I told you when he used to call the house.
Frog here.
When my son was young, and he would call the house, and I'd come home, and my son go, "Dad, your friend that sounds like Kermit the Frog called." He'd always say that to me. And I would tell Ray. Ray thought it would be the funniest thing. He's going, "I don't sound like Kermit."
Yes, he does. He sounds like Kermit the Frog.
Kermit the Frog here.
I remember when Ray first got Everyone Loves Raymond, right? And my kids, like, because they knew him, they go, can you get us a signed picture? So I said, I called Ray and I go, hey, can you send a couple of signed pictures from the show for my kids? So he sent them, and then he sent about 3 other ones in there. And then he wrote on the other ones, not used to doing this. So I just got carried away. It's like extra pictures.
The last time I saw Ray was on the set of Everybody Loves Raymond back in the day. I'd be working doing something on Warner Brothers, and if you were in, you could just walk on any soundstage. You know, I'd be working a show and then just walk over to on Warner Brothers, walk over to Everybody Loves Raymond, just walk in, hang out. You know, fucking Peter Boyle, Ray. You know, it was amazing.
I think I must have done 15 television shows with Ray.
Oh.
So crazy. Rory
doing stand up, right?
Yeah, Rory just booked all of us on the same TV shows. They would call up Rory and go, "Who do you have?" He goes, "I'll send you Ferrantino, Brian Regan, Ray Romano, and like Joe Bolster." And they go, "Okay, fine." You know, it's a great show.
So we're getting down to the last couple of minutes, John. Do you have anything you want to promote? Because we do have your website. I'll put that up again.
Yeah, I mean, JohnDiCrosta.com, and that's all my tour dates and my animation voiceover, if you want to listen to that. Instagram is JohnnyD163. I'm appearing at, land clubs. I guess MGM at Brad Garrett's Comedy Club in Las Vegas.
Oh, cool.
January
when are you going to be there?
9. January 2 through 9.
Cool.
Is that your first time back there since the pandemic? Because I know you've been there before.
No, I've actually done it twice since the pandemic.
Oh, cool.
And I'll be in Rochester, New York. I'll be in Rochester, New York at the Comedy at the Carlson on New Year's Eve.
That's awesome, man. New Year's Eve. Cool. When we worked, like I said, back in 1988, I had that video. I don't know if I ever sent it to you or not, but
where would that have been, though?
It was like it looked like it was in some basement. It was like some
probably the
basement.
Comedy Works.
Yeah, maybe
that just felt like a flashback. Last New Year's Eve, I had to do a Zoom show.
Oh dear!
And that was like, wow.
Like you mean like we're gonna Zoom?
We had 100 people on the Zoom meeting that paid to come to the show, and it was like 3 comedians, and I never realized in my life. I didn't realize in my life that in my act, the laugh brought me to the next bit.
Right.
That was like my segue into the next bit.
Yeah.
And I would just be like at the end.
Were they mic'd or were they?
You mean you had bits, John? It wasn't just stream of consciousness. You weren't just in the moment. Wow.
The audience wasn't mic'd because they didn't want like people
that's
talking.
The worst.
Oh, geez.
And there was no laugh track or anything, and the people seemed to like the show, but.
How could you tell?
I said it because they were applauding, and at the end, and
just imagine you see like 100 pictures just doing this.
Yeah, it was weird, and I realized at the end, and then that's when Michael Carbonaro and I was writing his Zoom show, and I said to him, "You got to remember, man, there's nothing goes on between the bits," and he goes, "I'll just sing zippity doodah."
That sounds like my whole act anyway.
When the world started opening up, I did a couple of those parking lot shows, and one of the parking lot shows, they would hand, as you pulled into the parking lot, they were handing people cowbells. So every time they would laugh, they would ring these fucking cowbells. It was the most silly.
I need more cowbell.
I would
take it. If that's,
I gotta have more cowbell.
Yeah. I think Mike is the only one who's going to get this reference. But if that was me, I would have yelled out 066 a lot. 066. When you in bingo, they ring a cowbell when you do that for some reason.
Oh, I didn't get the reference.
When they did it when they did the shows at the Magic Castle in the parking lot, the comedy shows, they rented that. When the people pulled in, they gave them these. They look like fly swatters with 2 hands on it, and they clap.
Oh, sure.
Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah.
They gave everyone those. Whoa.
Okay, John, we are out of time.
All righty. Well, thank you very much, John. It's good to see you. It's good to see you,
John.
Mustache.
Thanks for having me, guys.
It's a pleasure, man.
Great meeting you.
And we have our regular crew. We got Craig Mitchell.
Wait, that's not
Hey,
Craig.
hi. How you doing? I'm great. Oh,
I threw you a curve.
Yeah, you
and
did.
We have Yeah, Mike Grief.
Hey,
Let's say goodbye to John. Wish him all
That's a rooster. It's not a chicken. It's a rooster.
I'm choking my rooster.
Well, you know the other word for a rooster
doesn't
is.
work.
Anyway.
Yes.
And let's hear it for John. Give him a round of applause. And my name is John Fertino, and you can catch us on all of our stations. We're on our website, thebbbradio.com. We're on Long Island Strong TV. We're on Roku. We're on YouTube, Facebook. Just look at the banners on the bottom.
I can't do it this fast.
That's all we have for you this week. See you next week.
Yes. See you later.